Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Brew Crew Nation 98, where we are going to take a look and talk about what has happened so far in the offseason for the Milwaukee Brewers. And there's some major things that need to be addressed in this offseason because a lot of players are leaving, and we got a lot of people coming up. And so, where is it? On November 6th, we had 4 players that elected to hit free agency, and that includes DH/outfielder Andrew McCutchen, utility man Jace Peterson, and relievers Taylor Rogers, who absolutely struggled in Milwaukee, and Trevor Rosenthal, who never pitched for Milwaukee. All 4 of them elected to go to free agency. And the one person out of this group I will want to see them try to bring back is Jace Peterson, who has been a solid guy for Milwaukee these past couple of years, being kind of uber utility man in the infield, playing second base, shortstop, third base, outfield sometimes, and has hit really well. McCutchen was great, was decent for us, but he's getting older. He did decline last year, and we need to have some room for some of your young outfielders to come up and take his place. And then on November 7th, catcher Omar Narvaez elected free agency, who coming into his tenure with the Brewers into the 2019 season, in the 2020 season, he was like a power bat who struggled with defense, but now is completely flipped with him as he has been one of the best, a better defensive catcher, but absolutely has struggled on the plate and was absolutely atrocious last year. If you remember my grade of him, I gave him an F due to his high expectations for the team and just not failing. So I'm not surprised he liked free agency. Milwaukee doesn't really have a reason to bring him back, but that does kind of leave a hole for us at catcher right now, as the other option we had is Victor Caratini. He didn't necessarily do the greatest job either. And so catcher is going to be a point of emphasis, I would say, for this upcoming offseason. Then on November 8th, we exercised a Milwaukee club option on Colton Wong for $10 million on our payroll next year. But I think that is going to be a very good thing because he has been amazing offensively his post-career high years in Milwaukee from the plate. But he did have struggled defensively last year. But since there's no one really in the farm system that could be a second baseman, it just makes sense to have Colton Wong for one more year and try to get someone up there. Really like that decision. Colton Wong should be really good for the Brewers again this year. Then a couple of news regarding the catcher situation. On the 9th of November, we activated Alex Jackson from the 6-day DL. He appeared in some games for the Brewers, but was shut down due to injury and spent most of his year in AAA. So he could be a potential replacement for Omar Narvaez. But another one that we could potentially have too is Peyton Henry, who we traded back to Milwaukee from the Marlins for Remington Batista. And he used to be a top 30 prospect for the Brewers when we traded him for John Curtis back in 2021, which was absolutely not a good move. And so him and Jackson might be competing for that backup catcher role behind either Caratini or potentially an outside source coming in. And also on November 10th, we claimed Tyson Miller off of waivers from the Texas Rangers, which is absolutely, I don't think so, because he went 1-2 with a 10.97 ERA in 4 appearances for the Rangers and had a 4.52 ERA in AAA. And I don't get what the Brewers see in him. And apparently Matt Arnold told us on MLB.com that he's been on the radar for a while. And I don't see where they're coming from with that move. Then also on November 10th, we declined our 2023 option on Brad Boxberger, who had a fantastic year for the Brewers. I gave him a grade of a B or a B+. But he is getting older. He is going to be 35 next year. And if we kept him on the roster, instead of, we would have been paying him $3 million. But instead, he gets $750,000 buyout, and now he is a free agent. And recently, we had some other players on the non-tender deadline that was on last Friday, the 18th. Yeah, the 18th. I'm getting that right, hopefully. Yes, the 18th. And there's a couple of one very hard non-tender in left-hander Brent Suter had been claimed off of waivers by the Colorado Rockies. And before he was claimed, he was the longest tenured Brewer for 7 years, was a 31st round draft pick out of Harvard, had 196 appearances for the Brewers, went 36-19 with 3.51 ERA, and the Vulture was definitely a solid player for the Brewers for many years, and was part of some really good teams in 2018 and 2021. And I wish him all the best in Colorado. Wish you're staying here, but I get Brewers thought it was time to move on from him. And yeah, it just sucks that he's gone because he was just a very good locker room presence. But that's another $3.1 million off the books that we would have had to pay him. So maybe trying to figure out a way to get some more relief on him, because in addition to losing Brent Suter, we were losing Trevor Gott, Yanda Gustave, and Luis Perdomo, kind of like middling relief arms that had spent some time up and down the majors last season, but still, that's like those are 4 bullpen arms in addition to losing Brad Boxberger. So that's and Taylor Rogers and Trevor Rosenthal. 7 arms that need to be replaced for the Brewers. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Brewers make some moves in that, and they already kind of had. One good, decent news is that we avoided arbitration with right-hander Adrian Hauser. We signed him to a 1-year, $3.6 million deal. He had a really bad year last year, but the previous 2 years he showed signs of improvement, so hopefully he can get back to his 2021 form. And he's a 5th guy in a rotation who can also bleed in the bullpen and could be a decent role out of it. And so signed for 2023 so far, Matt Bush and Adrian Howard. These guys who are arbitration eligible, not gone. And we tendered offers for Corbin Burns, Woodruff, Devin Williams, Willie Adames, Hunter Renfroe, Eric Lauer, Rowdy Tellez, Luis Urias, Victor Caratini, Keston Hira, Mike Brousseau, and Hobie Milner. And now they go into the process of arbitration to see what we're actually going to be paying these guys for the next season. And we saw we had a lot of guys there. So it's just a lot of things going on. And one more news is that we received on the 18th as well, we received from the Tampa Bay Rays Javi Guerrera, who is a relief pitcher, exchanged for a player to be named later. And he pitched 16 innings for Tampa Bay last year with a 3.38 ERA, with a not necessarily great stats, but he was absolutely incredible in AAA, where he had a 1.74 ERA across 41 and a third innings pitched. And he's 1 year shy of arbitration, so it's not going to be too much of a price tag, but this is his last stop. And so maybe he can be a guy to replace in the bullpen. As I said earlier, we had a lot of losses there with 7 guys not being there anymore. And so the bullpen is a major spot for the Brewers to get. And catcher is another major weakness for this team. So it'll be interesting to see how the Brewers attack free agency this year. We got a lot of guys off the books, but we got to see how much arbitration is going to be for guys like Burns, Woodruff, Adames, Tellez, Renfroe, and see what the heck is going to happen with the team. But let me know what you guys think down below. What will the Brewers do in free agency? It'll be very interesting to see what is exactly going to happen. And once we get more news coming out, I will be making more off-season videos depending on what happens. And I'll see you guys again next time here on the channel.